How's it going, everybody? I'm back in Fallout 4 again at Starlight Drive-In. Uh, this time I'm going to be building another set of houses. These are a little bit more closed off than all of my previous builds. These houses, like I showed in the last video, there's the chain link fences in those openings, so those are going to be like strictly in that area around those chain link fences, and it's going to be closed off uh, to the outside, so sort of like a wall. I think that I might do that. So I think I might build houses around this area and then kind of fill in the gaps with junk walls and stuff so that they're kind of part of the wall too. And I think that'll be a little bit more interesting than just building a wall around the whole settlement. This area will be a little bit more closed off. And then it'll have guard towers and stuff like that, guards that'll be around this area. But yeah, so this is a pretty simple thing compared to, I guess, some of my previous ones, but also this is a really interesting thing that I did up here. So this one's actually going to include a store in the kind of housing area, so it'll be a house and a store kind of blended in, so a house for the shopkeeper. And that's what that upstairs one is going to be. I'm trying to see if there's a gap. That's what the jumping and stuff was me trying to see if there was a gap between the floor that was on that beam of that double tall wall, because that's what I'm going to be building that off of. If you guys have watched No Respawn's like Hive houses, I don't remember exactly what he called it, uh, but I remember whenever he referred to it the first time, he called them like hive houses. That's kind of inspired by that. Or this is kind of inspired by that. And I'm just trying to build a floor like kind of supported off of that too high junk wall. And I'm trying to make it even with the house below. So I used the like staircase floor piece so that the stairs, or so that the roof and the floor are even on this. And yeah, I think I got it pretty even right there, but I just got rid of that wall real quick so that I can place in a door frame. And then again over here I wanted to place another doorway. And then I go ahead and try to fill in all these walls, these gaps in the walls now, but there's kind of an issue, so I use place anywhere to move this over a little bit and then make that even with this piece and then just snap that on. And that makes it where I can actually snap all my walls on now, which is what I wanted. As I said previously, I use pretty much the exact same combination of walls, so I thought for some reason that was the end of the build, but it was not. And then whenever I don't want to just restart the texture, which I ended up doing, it looks like, I usually will put those like end caps on to kind of break up the texture of the wall and to prevent me from doing the same order of builds. So usually my wall order is the wooden wall, the wood slash plywood, then the flat plywood. And you guys will notice that a lot now that I've pointed it out to you. If you haven't already, I'm sure that a lot of people have already found that out just from watching a few videos, in this settlement especially. I do that just so that when you look at the wall from an angle, it's all of the wall pieces. It's not the same texture over and over and over. But if you were to take all of my walls and line them all up, where you can see every single house all in a line, you would notice that it's all wood, wood slash plywood, plywood, then flat plywood, and then back to wood. So uh, when you're in a house, it prevents repeating textures. When you see just that house, it still kind of prevents repeating textures. But when you put a bunch of houses together, that's when it kind of gets jumbled up. But you never see the same two walls by each other, which is the good part to me. So like on this side, you notice it's plywood, plywood, and then wood wall, and then again over here. But from this side, you can't see that side. So on to the next house after I put all those walls on. I decided just to make this a little small one. Uh, and it's just going to kind of serve as a base for that general store up on top. It's a pretty simple, like, building overall. But right here, I was trying to decide how I wanted people to get up to that general store. I thought about doing something a little bit more interesting, but I just went with a staircase, and then at the bottom is when I make it a little bit more interesting. Uh, this build overall, though, I don't know why I thought that I was going to use carpet. Don't know why I thought that. But this build overall, I think, is a little bit more interesting than most builds because uh, I have a store. Rather than all the other houses, I have or all the other house videos that I've done in Starlight so far. Uh, None of them have really had a store mixed into them. So this one does. The last one had a guard tower, and that was a little bit different. It was interesting too, but this one's interesting in a different way, I guess. Uh, just trying to have a general store mixed in, and then also having this floor a little offset makes the building look a little bit more interesting. And right here, I'm just trying to make it where the floor is even with the edge of the half wall that I have on the right side. And I end up moving it over a little bit to make it a little bit more even with the edge of that other wooden floor. And then right here, I can't actually get placed anywhere to work. And as you can see, it picked up the wall too. And I don't know how long I messed with this before I finally got it. I think that I left it after this just because, yeah, so I thought that that was good enough. And then on this side, I go to place another wall, but I just flipped it around so that the texture is a little bit different from the different sides, you know. And then I switched it because I couldn't get that piece to go in right. But then I had a really hard time getting these walls to snap in. So I ended up having to use Place Anywhere to actually place this like outer cap wall that I had intended on placing. And I tried to see if the roof would help it snap at all. It would snap on that side, which is good because then I can place a wall on that side at least and put that wall in. But I still had to use Place Anywhere to get that last wall in. And then on this side, again, just a little window like the previous build. I was saying that I like to put those so that people can have good views in their houses and stuff like that, especially the second floors. I think that that's probably the best place to have windows like that. But yeah, so I used Place Anywhere to place this outer cap in. And right now I'm just seeing if it clips into the roof of that other house, which it did, but I don't think that it's far enough to actually be noticeable on the bottom story. And then I went ahead and finished up this part of the house, just trying to break up the textures and stuff like that using different wall pieces. And then I couldn't get this in, so I ended up switching. to another wall piece. And since this is on another wall, I think I just leave it facing that way because it's on a different side of the wall. So you're not really going to see this and the other one at the same time. And then in a moment, I put the roofs on. And there's still a gap between that junk wall right there and the roof. So I end up using the half wall pieces, not these, but this, like the railing kind. But I use this and place anywhere to kind of just fill in that little gap. I end up going where you can barely see it just because it gets rid of like the texture clash of that plywood piece. And then to make the outside look a little bit better, where I have that window, I place some ball track supports because I think that these are probably the best like supports in the game. I wish that no Respawns has mentioned this before too. Uh, I wish that we had just like this single pole, and in my opinion, I wish that we had shorter ones too, ones that weren't like the warehouse tab height. I want supports that are the same height as the regular wooden walls because you can't put supports in houses and stuff without it clipping through the roof or the floor. So second floors you can't put supports in at all. And it's really frustrating. Unless you can somehow manage to hide it somehow. I don't know how you're going to do that, but or if you don't care about stuff clipping through, which I mean, to each their own, I guess. And this is the final house of this build. This one's pretty, I would say it's pretty simple, but it's like a longhouse. It kind of wraps around this whole side. I thought about doing another house between that gap, but I end up just placing this in, and yeah, I think that it turns out pretty well. I kind of section this one off too. A lot of these houses are sectioned off so that it's got multiple rooms because I don't really do a whole lot of those in this settlement, or I didn't in these builds so far. I just do kind of the I just kind of do what I'm doing now, where I'll just put like a half wall to make it into another room. But as I was saying, this is a pretty simple house. It's just the hardest part is the angles. And then I place these outer caps and then start to fill in all the gaps on the house. And then there you go, you see me fixing that to match my pattern. And then if you ever have issues, a lot of my builds, you'll notice that I can't get things to clip the way that I want or snap the way that I want. And a lot of the time, it's mainly just because of your build order. So the way that you place things in really matters. It can really help to like remove something that you've already done and to place the piece that you want in and then just redo the steps that you've done previously. And then I use place anywhere to move this scaffolding floor in to kind of have different textures rather than just using the plywood pieces. This has plywood on it, which is the main reason I used it, just so that it kind of blends with everything else, but at the same time it's not just plywood pieces across the floor. But after I place that, I do go ahead and get plywood pieces and then fill in the gap. And then there's like 2 or 3 plywood pieces specifically that actually just like automatically snap underneath most other pieces of plywood, and it's fantastic for building because if you place down plywood pieces, they don't always like snap the way that you want. So like sometimes one will snap on top of the other, so you kind of have to have a little bit of a gap between them, and that's a really frustrating thing is to have that gap, because so like right here, to avoid same texture, I kind of switch it up. But like how there's little gaps between those, I place these plywood pieces down because they automatically go underneath, and it just makes it look a little bit more layered and have more depth and stuff. There's not as many holes in the floor, and I think that it looks really good. And then to fill in this gap, I went ahead and used the half shack walls, just like with all of my other houses. And I put down on both sides of this to kind of fill in the gap. So some of the ideas I have for this settlement going forward include a guard like post type of thing, not just like towers and stuff like I did in the last video, but I do want to do like a guard checkpoint type of stuff. Uh, I have to figure out where I'm going to have that though, because there's no like direct entrance to the settlement, so I think I need to make something like that. Biggest problem is it's such an open settlement that it's kind of hard to do that. But I think that I'm going to do something along the lines of that. I'm going to try to figure out what to do with it. Then also, uh, I am going to do a store kind of in the main area around the center of the like water purifier, I guess. I was gonna say the center of the town, but yeah, I want to have a like a general store, a little bit more interesting of a store, a little bit more detailed, rather than like these builds. So it'll be a little bit shorter of a video. I apologize for like the super long videos that I've been posting. I don't always do this long of videos, especially, but just these, I feel like I don't want to do like 15 house building videos, because I could do a video for each one of these houses and it would be 10 minutes long, and you guys would get a lot more of the details, a lot less cuts, stuff like that. But to kind of like avoid having a ton of videos of me just building houses, I'm gonna go ahead and like cut these all together and try to make them as smooth as possible, and then still give you guys details about how I built this. And so, like I was saying earlier with this staircase, I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. So at the base, I used a cinder blocks and a regular 4-piece, and then just snapped some steps to it. So it snaps, or it doesn't snap, but I pillar glitched it right in so that it's a smooth walk up. And then I put some railings on at the top. And then now I'm sectioning the houses off like I had said previously that I was going to. So as you can see, I just kind of place the half shack walls in, kind of like I do to fill the gaps of the angles that I do. And I do that just so that it looks like it's a separate room. And then I'm trying to make these even with the walls so that it doesn't look so, I don't know, off, weird. I try to make it look even so it looks clean. But yeah, so I did it on the general store place as well, because like I had said, I wanted this to kind of be a house and a general store. So that's why I decided to like section off this back area. But here's the final tour here in a second. And yeah, here it is, guys. I really like the way that this turned out. I mean, I wouldn't be showing you guys if I didn't. I would have changed a bunch of stuff, so that's kind of a given, but you know, I say it every single time. But from the outside, you can see it's pretty closed up, and you can't really get in anywhere on this side of these houses. So like they're still open on the other side, and also like there's a gap here on the right that goes behind the bar. And it goes to the town center, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this little area yet. I'm probably going to close this all off just for the fact that I was saying I want it to kind of be a little bit more secure. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out. If I just go back here, you can see it's pretty closed off still. The chain link fence, and then I put pathways out here. I don't think I showed that in the video at all, me filling in all these gaps and stuff. And then have some lights going through here too. It's still pretty dim actually at night, which I like. I like it being like dim alleyways and stuff. And then decorations is pretty slim in these builds because I really am not trying to kill my frame rate so soon because I really want to build a lot more here. So decorations are going to start being a little less heavy, I guess. I'm going to still be decorating a little bit. Like you can see, I put like a book and some newspapers down, then some food on the table, a couple comic books and stuff, but it's not going to be like overload, I guess. And then also, you'll notice whenever I do the final tour build, I have deleted a couple things, like decorations. So right in the middle of the screen right now, you see a giant wire floating. I was messing around with wires in this area, and that just kind of is floating there forever now. I can't actually delete it, and I'm really frustrated with that. That's why I didn't stay in that house for very long. It really makes me mad. If anybody knows how to fix that, like, please, for the love of God, let me know. Because it's stuck there floating forever now, and it's really starting to piss me off. Because I don't like going in that house now because there's a floating wire. But yeah, up here is the general store, like I'd said, fully decorated, and then there's that house. It's kind of a overview of that house. But if you go inside, I got a couple chairs and stuff. Because like I said, this is a house too, and so I wanted to have like a little living area, but it's mainly a store because there'll be people in and out all day. I should have really put a door on the bedroom area, just now thinking about it. Because here's the bedroom area. That general store counter comes from Workshop Decorations pack by Aslam. It's a great mod. Adds tons of decorations and stuff like that. Or, well, not decorations, but like decorated shelves, decorated tables. If you don't really feel like decorating your own shelves, like how I did here. Usually I put a lot more on shelves and stuff, but it adds quite a bit into the game, and it's fantastic. But this is the last house, a little bit like of a long house, like I was saying. Not so much decoration, or not so many decorations and stuff, but still enough to please me. Shelves are all full and stuff, but let me know what you guys think. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Thank you to everybody who already is subscribed, and check out some of my other videos. I have tons of builds, and there's tons more to come, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.